Now, still keeping your eyes closed, let's do this affirmation. I'll read out first about the affirmation love from Swami Kriyanandaji's book. One finds love not by being loved, but by loving. We can never know love if we try to draw others to ourselves, nor can we find it by centering our love in them. For love is infinite, it is never ours to create. We can only channel it from its source in infinity to all whom we meet. The more we forget ourselves in giving to others, the better we can understand what love really is. And the more we love as channels for God's love, the more we can understand that His is the one love in all universe. Let's do this affirmation together. First out loud. I will love others as extensions of my own self. I will love others as extensions of my own self. And of the love I feel from God. And the love I feel from God. Now, slightly softly. I will love others as extensions of my own self. I will love others as extensions of my own self. And of the love I feel from God. Now, in a normal tone, I will love others as extensions of my own self. And of the love I feel from God. Now, whispering, I will love others as extensions of my own self. And of the love I feel from God. And now, mentally only, I will love others as extensions of my own self. And of the love I feel from God. O Infinite One, make me a channel for Thy love. Through me, reach out to sow seeds of love in barren hearts everywhere. We'll now do a couple of readings. This reading is from the Whispers of Eternity. Whispers from Eternity. I was made for Thee. I was made for Thee alone. I was made for dropping flowers of devotion gently at Thy feet on the altar of the morning. My hands were made to serve Thee willingly, to remain folded in adoration, waiting for Thy coming, and when Thou comest, to bathe Thy feet in my tears. My voice was made to sing Thy glory. My feet were made to seek Thy temples everywhere. My eyes were made a chalice to hold Thy burning love and the wisdom falling from Thy nature's hands. My ears were made to catch the music of Thy footstep, echoing through the halls of space, and to hear Thy divine melodies flowing through all hearts' tracts of devotion. My lips were made to breathe forth Thy praises and Thine intoxicating inspirations. My love was made to throw incandescent searchlight flames to find Thee hidden in the forest of my desires. My heart was made to respond to Thy call alone. My soul was made to be the channel through which Thy love might flow uninterruptedly into all thirsty souls. And today, as we celebrate Swamiji's birth anniversary, this is a reading from the book Swami Kriyananda as we have known him. The title of this book is He Saw You. Several hundred people came to Ananda village that weekend to celebrate Swamiji's 77th birthday. Many had been with Swamiji for decades. There was a concert, a festive dinner, Sunday service, and several smaller gatherings hosted by Swamiji at his home. The culminating event was a garden party at Crystal Hermitage. Once again, we sang Happy Birthday while Swamiji blew out the candles on yet another exquisitely decorated cake. When the refreshments had been served, and the entertainment was over, Durga stood at the microphone, speaking for all of us in a voice choked with emotion. She expressed gratitude to Swamiji for all he has done to bring Master to us and to help us realize God. The applause went on for several minutes. When it finally died down, he responded, "If I thought you were celebrating me," Swamiji said, "I would be quite embarrassed. It is not me, however, that we are celebrating. It is all of us and all that we have done together. Master told me many times that I had a great work to do. After he died, Rajasi Janakananda, his spiritual successor, repeated the same words to me. You have a great work to do. Then Rajasi assured me, and Master will give you the strength to do it. Rajasi was speaking about all of you. You are the strength Master has given me. Master saw you, he knew you would come, and that through you, this great work would be done. Let's listen to this one song and a little clipping of Swamiji. This song is called Dare to Be Different.
Dare to be different, dare to be free, dare to roam far like wind on the sea. Fly like a god, soar high on the air, be strong in your courage when others despair. Never in anger, never in haste, go without pride, be never abased. Freedom is yours, if freedom you give, to all give it free, in freedom you live. Mountains that stand up tall to the sky, tell us no dreaming is ever too high. Dare to defy them, brave that high fear. You'll never know failure if victory you see. Dare to be different, dare to be free, dare to roam far like wind on the sea. Fly like a god, soar high on the air, be strong in your courage when others despair.
This is a very short 2 minutes voice of Swamiji.
Well, as I look back over my life, I see that big power would.
This talk was Swamiji's 80th birthday. He gave this talk on his 80th birthday. So this is just like a 2 minutes clip from his talk.
Standing to know that you are omnipresent. Well, as I look back over my life, I see that basically I've understood that. I mean, you don't come upon this kind of understanding just by thinking. It had to be a karmic thing. It had to be something that I knew inside me. And as I look back, I see that all my life, in a way, I've been trying to get away from this definition of Kriyananda. or Don, or Walter, or whoever he may be, that I had a few points in my favor. I don't think I can't imagine hating anybody. I've very seldom been angry with anybody. Um, I've really hardly been touched by anything in my life as I look back over it. There have been a few little things that have upset me, but very few, and in recent years, nothing. I have no particular desire for anything. It all seems to me perfectly pointless to want things that aren't you anyway. And so basically, what my life has been is a twofold desire. One, to know God and truth, and the other, as I said, to help other people to know that. And when I came to master, this also was my desire. And as you know, I've done a few things in my life. I cannot be. There are two ways, Ramakrishna said, there are two ways to develop humility. One is to say, I am nothing. The other one is to say, I am everything. Well, I can't think I am nothing and have no desire. Some people manage to practice humility in that way. It's never been possible for me. I've always been as if sitting on a volcano, just constantly erupting. I've got this urge within me to do so many things, but I don't have to, and I never have thought I'm doing it. I've really done everything. People, as they do all the things that I've done, usually this adds self-definition to self-definition. I've never had that. I don't think in terms of I have done anything. He did it through me. I wrote all this music. Why did I write it? Because I just had this urge to help people through music, and I had a talent for it. But otherwise, I could easily have never written a note. And in fact, when I felt that I had said everything I could say through music, I just quit writing it. And so for at least 10 years now, I don't think I've written any music.
It's a very special day today because it's Swamiji's birth and birthday anniversary. It's been 10 years to his passing, but this day remains very special. And as Swamiji has written in the reading, it is not it's not just his birthday that we are celebrating. It is all our spiritual birth. Our initiation onto this path is what we are celebrating. He often said in his talks, I listened to his several birthday talks, and he would always describe uh, his meeting with Yogananda ji in his talk. He would always describe the way he traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast for 4 days and 4 nights. And the first words he told Master Yogananda ji was that I want to be your disciple. But also, as was mentioned in this talk, he said that there were only two things he wanted in life. One was to find God, to find truth for himself. And second was to share this truth and help everyone find this truth. And this has been pretty much what he did all his life. I remember in 2012, I got an opportunity to attend one of these garden parties that Swamiji was describing in his reading. And it was a very beautiful, very uplifting event. And what touched me the most, that there were hundreds of people, and this was a tradition at Ananda, like there would be a concert, a tribute to Swamiji, and even now it happens, but at that time Swamiji himself was attending this concert. And then there used to be a party, there used to be dinner, and then there used to be a talk by Swamiji. But this the garden party at Crystal Hermitage itself is a very beautiful place. It's a place that represents very uplifted consciousness. It's very easy to just feel at peace, with the beauty of nature, with all the tulips and everything. And so anyway, so this was a garden party, and roughly there were hundreds of people, like at least 200, 250 people easily. And he would bless each and every one in that party, right? So everyone would go up to meet him, greet Swamiji. But what touched me the most was, of course, his blessings were there, but then it was also how each and every person's life was transformed because of these teachings. And each and every person had a connect with Swamiji, and definitely there was a personal connect, but it was much more than just a personal connect. It was they all had been with Swamiji for a very long time, for at least for a couple of decades, and you could see that everyone was transformed in their lives because of following the teachings, because of doing what Swamiji came here to do, right? So that to me was very eye-opening, because when you see, there was this one person who visited Ananda village, and he said that uh, everyone in Ananda village is so kind, right? And that's true everywhere, not just at Ananda village, everywhere who you meet at Ananda, all wherever you go, any part of the world, wherever you meet Ananda people, usually they are very kind and very good hearted. Okay. So he said that that's a notable feature he saw in everyone at Ananda, that they were all kind. Now, Swamiji said to that of course, like let's say, for example, you don't live in a community where if you live in an isolated or not in the community, like somewhere probably which is away from a community, and if you see one person who is following these teachings and that person is kind, you'll see, okay, this is a nice person to meet. He has special good qualities. But when you see hundreds of people like that, and wherever you go across the world, then you know that there is something that they are doing. That is what is making them the way they are, right? That is what is actually transforming those individuals, right? And to me personally, Ananda has, yes, of course, it is Swamiji himself. Swamiji himself had his own magnetism. He had an aura. I remember this was when Swamiji was living in the land in Pune, in his house. He would often step out at around 4:30 p.m. for a walk, and all his staff would help him to walk. And even if he would just say a few words, it used to be very, very resounding to the ears, because his voice was not just a nice voice. The voice carried spiritual magnetism. His voice had peace, it had calmness, it had bliss, all the divine aspects that we talk about, right? So there was magnetism in his voice, there was magnetism in his aura. Like he would just step into a room and we would know that this person has something, something higher than, or something that we all are seeking, right? And he was also very kind and very, very approachable to everyone. There was, so that was something that touched me the most. But yes, of course, Swamiji, but then also what touched me was the people that of Ananda, people who had been with Swamiji for a very long time. And that was a lot, some of the things that I saw was very eye-opening to me, right? So for example, there was this one time, so when we talk about teachings, it's, yes, we read through it through books, we listen to, all the talks, we listen to music, but when we see these teachings being practiced in day-to-day life, that is what is, transforming to us, right? So there was this one time, there was this one instance where, there's this one person who was, causing a bit of inconvenience, so to speak, to a lot of people around. And it also included some of the senior members of Ananda. And in my perspective, I could easily tell, okay, this person could, do certain things in a certain way, and then things would be sorted, right? And that was a very, to me, it was a very short-sighted perspective. So I chatted with one of the senior members of Ananda, and they said to me that, in a short run, probably we could have just won over the argument or whatever it was. But the thing is, what this person told me is like, if you would have done that, then we would have lost a friend. And they placed friendship over that situation. They placed friendship over that just individual trying to find, cause inconvenience to the group. And there was, and that person is still very active part of Ananda even now, and this was many years ago. But the thing is, this is what has shaped Ananda, right? To place divine friendship over everything else. And it may seem like it is very inconvenient in the short run, but in the long run, that is how Swamiji's spirit was. And the spirit of a leader is what gets transcended into the spirit of the community. And I feel this is the influence that Swamiji has had on everyone who tries to tune into him, right? And so his, what I saw was he always placed friendship over, it could be monetary benefits, it could be situation, it could be projects. And that is one of the themes of Ananda, right? People are more important than things, right? And then it was dharma. Like he always said that wherever there is dharma, there is victory. And so for most part, for almost all his life, he has stuck to dharma, even if it meant, incurring losses, even if it meant, project being closed, but he always stuck to what was the right action. And he said that at the end, the truth always comes out and the truth always wins, right? There was one interview I remember, and I was a part of audience for this interview. And this was an interview which was for some documentary that our friend Sunny from Gurgaon was, recording. And so Sunny asked Swamiji that, what would you say to people who leave Ananda? What would you say to people that, what do you have to say about them? And Swamiji said that they are happier than they were before. That, if you follow these teachings, even for a while, you become a happier person, a better version of yourself. And that is what Ananda leaves you with. It will leave you with a better version of yourself. And I feel that that is true. When we look back after spending so many years at Ananda, I feel I'm a happier version. I may not be self-realized yet, but I'm a better version of myself today than what I was before. And that is, that is what Swamiji came here to do, to uplift the consciousness of masses. That is what he came here to do, right? And one of the things, again, a notable thing that kind of touched me was that everything he did, he himself practiced. At the age of 85 or 86, he had a lot of medical issues. Like most of us know that, right? He had a very terrible sort of medical history. And sometimes the doctors would say, how can you bear all this? But he was always joyful, he was always blissful, all of that. But then even at that age, this was in the mornings when, we used to have meditation at the community at 6:30 in the morning. He would get up and he would practice energization exercises. He could barely walk, but he would never give up on energization exercises. Now, of course, he could not do running in place and he needed help for that. But the point here is his commitment. He never gave up on energization, and he never said, oh, I'm not well, I guess it's okay. He put in his best as a disciple, and whatever that meant, this was a part of his discipleship. And this is something that really inspired me when I actually would see him energizing every single morning. I was like, oh my God, how is he able to do that, right? And then there was one time when he mentioned to one of the people who were living at the Pune community, and he was encouraging this person to meditate and cultivate sadhana and a strong sadhana routine. And he said, I wish, and this was after he was 85, and he said, I wish I would have been a better example at this point in time to show you how, of example of meditation. So he just didn't say that, I have done a lot of years of meditation, or he could have said anything, right? Like, okay, this is what master has, taught, and this is what we should do. But rather than approaching in terms of we should do this, he would set an example himself. He was an example of everything that he taught, everything. Nothing that he said in his teachings, in his writings, in his books, everything was something that was experiential. That is something that he himself experienced. And that is the best teacher. Teacher is not somebody who would tell you what to do, but teacher is someone who will show with examples. And that is what I see in Swamiji. That is what I see in a lot of long time members who followed Swamiji throughout their life, that they set an example for us to live these teachings practically in day-to-day life, to choose kindness over anger, to choose forgiveness over holding grudges, to choose happiness over sorrow and to choose light over darkness. Swamiji, Swamiji is, of course, I believe that he was a saint and he was definitely a very, very advanced soul. And for a soul like Swamiji, he can transcend times. Like it's not, we often we feel that, oh, Swamiji is not there anymore. So how can I tune into Swamiji? But of course, I mentioned in one of my previous satsangs as well that we have his consciousness, we have his music, we have his books, but more than anything, Swamiji has transcended time and space. And people, or people who are saintly, people who have achieved sainthood, or they're at a very advanced spiritual stages, they have the ability to bless us no matter at which plane they're residing in. They could be in some Hiranya Loka somewhere, but they can still bless us if we tune ourselves to them. And it is not just and these times like birthdays and moksha days and mahasamadhi days, these are very, very strong times, because it's not just one individual or two individuals. There's a group of individuals, thousands of people everywhere who are trying to tune into those individuals. So when we think deeply in these times, we are able to draw their blessings and guidance and support in our lives, even if they're not physically present today. So, well, okay, so now actually I would like to close with a video. This is a video that was released just 2 days ago on Ananda Worldwide. This was about Swamiji's biography. It's a tribute to Swamiji on his birthday. So I would request everyone to come to this part of the hall and we can all watch this video together.
Swami Swami Kriyananda James Donald Walters was a direct disciple of the great Indian master Paramahansa Yogananda. For 65 years, he dedicated his life to spreading the teachings and the spirit of his great guru. Swamiji was born in Romania in 1926. His parents were American. His mother told him that throughout her pregnancy, she was filled inwardly with joy. Lord, she prayed repeatedly, this first child I give to thee. Romania was young Donald's home until the age of 13. At 9, he was sent away to school in French Switzerland for his health. There he lived and studied for 1.5 years. Thus, before he reached adolescence, he became fluent in 4 languages: English, German, Romanian, and French. From 1937 to 1939, he attended school in England. His family went to America for the summer holidays in 1939. They had just begun their return to Europe when Hitler invaded Poland and World War II began. Thus, they remained in America, settling in the eastern part of the country in Scarsdale, New York. Donald, from the age of 13, attended a succession of schools in the East: Hackley in Tarrytown, New York, Kent School in Kent, Connecticut, Scarsdale High School, Haverford College outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. This unusual variety of schooling, with the diverse experiences it offered, helped to prepare him for a life of reaching out to people of many cultures and countries with the message of his great guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. In September 1948, in New York City, the young truth seeker read Paramahansa Yogananda's great opus, Autobiography of a Yogi. He took almost the next bus across America, a journey of 4 days and 4 nights, to Los Angeles, where the Guru had his headquarters. The first words he addressed to the Master were, "I want to be your disciple." Thus began the thrilling odyssey of young Swamiji's life. He was accepted that very day. From then on, he lived in his Guru's ashram on Mount Washington. Only a year later, his Guru placed him in charge of the other monks. Swamiji was to be given many other responsibilities over the years. Yogananda made him a teacher and minister and had him initiate others on his behalf. Later, he became the director of center activities worldwide for his Guru's organization, Self-Realization Fellowship, and organized many aspects of the organization's work. In time, he became the first vice president and member of the SRF Board of Directors. His Guru told him, "Your work will be lecturing, editing, and writing." On a number of occasions, Yoganandaji said to him, "You have a great work to do." And after Yogananda's passing, Rajarsi Janakananda, his foremost disciple, told Swamiji, "Master has a great work to do through you," then added, "and he will give you the strength to do it." In 1958, Swamiji went to India, where he lived for the better part of 4 years, teaching and lecturing. He also became widely known for his singing of bhajans in Bengali and Hindi. In northern India especially, he lectured to thousands. He met privately with the Prime Minister, Pandit Nehru, who thought so well of him that he endorsed Swamiji's plan to develop a 25-acre piece of land in the Greenbelt area of New Delhi near Birla Mandir. Here, Nehru is viewing Swamiji's painting of the proposed project. Alas for Swamiji's plans to serve his Guru in India. His activities drew disfavor from the leaders of Self-Realization Fellowship in America. His intense desire to make his Guruji known in India seemed to them too original and creative. Fearful lest his activities endangered their own ability to control the work, they ordered Swamiji to return from India in July of 1962. Upon his return, they expelled him from the organization. Swamiji settled thereafter in San Francisco, California, and lived there for several years. He was invited to teach at Dr. Haridas Chowdhury's Cultural Integration Fellowship. Swamiji's love for his Guru, however, kept the needle of his mental compass ever pointing toward serving him. Eventually, through classes in yoga and meditation, he began to share Yogananda's teachings in many places in and around San Francisco. His dismissal from organizational involvement proved not the tragedy it had first seemed, but a release, for it made creative activity possible in accordance with the instructions the Master had given to him personally. Swamiji began writing books and composing songs, the lyrics and melodies of which expressed his Guru's philosophy. He wrote in all 150 books, each of them an offering to help deepen people's love for God and for truth. In addition, he composed over 400 pieces of music. He would often say, "If you want to know me, listen to my music." Soar above waves and roaring seas roar. Ever in Swamiji's mind was his guru's keen interest in world brotherhood communities, for which he had expressed his enthusiasm dramatically at a garden party in 1949.
He started in talking powerfully about communities. And he said, youth must go north, south, east, west, everywhere to spread this ideal of cooperative communities, world brotherhood communities. And he said, I am sowing my thoughts in the ether, and my words shall not die.
In 1968, Swami Kriyananda founded the first Ananda community, fulfilling Yogananda's dream of world brotherhood colonies. The first buildings were geodesic domes, a shape Swamiji chose for its expansive effect on one's consciousness. Through the determined and joyful efforts of Ananda members, the community began to take shape and to grow, coming in time to comprise some 800 acres of land. Here, about 200 member disciples of his Gurudeva now live. A principle Swami established, with which everyone came in time to agree, was people are more important than things. This means that people's spiritual well-being is more important than projects or anything else. Closely related is the second principle: where there is Dharma, adherence to truth and right action, there is victory. When one makes righteous action his pole star, any resulting hardship will prove in time to be a blessing when embraced with courage, gratitude, not attachment, and deep faith in God. A spirit of harmony and cooperation has been fundamental to Ananda's success.
The love and compassion that came toward the end of his life was, in some cases, almost startling. There was one story of a young man. Swami had traveled and he had come back to Gurgaon in northern India, and he was sore. His body didn't easily take to travel. So this young man who did massages came to help him. And in the course of their conversation, Swami found out that not only did the young man not have a massage table, but he was really struggling for finances. And so Swami not only offered to, but ended up buying him a massage table. And the young man was extremely grateful. And it would be a beautiful story if that were all that it were. But as this young man, he was maybe early 20s, he had a wife and 2 children by that time. As he was leaving the little ashram where Swami was staying, he burst into tears and told one of the staff there, he said, I grew up as an orphan and there was a hole in my heart. And what I always missed my entire life was the feeling of the love of a father. And now I have found that. And I don't think Swami did that consciously because this boy was an orphan. I don't think he knew. It was just a constant outpouring of openness so that the divine could work through him and so that Master could work through him.
At present, there exist 6 Ananda communities. 5 of them are in America: Ananda Village in Nevada City, California, and others in Sacramento and Palo Alto, California, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. A 6th community in Assisi, Italy, welcomes guests from throughout Europe, Russia, and farther afield.
Swami Kriyananda was always an example of both discipleship and a life given to spirit. But honestly, toward the end of his life, he became, I would describe it as almost transparent. The part that was Kriyananda had gotten so thin that all it really shone through was the love, the compassion, the discipleship to Master, and especially the joy that he had worked on for an entire lifetime. And he modeled that for us. It was a beautiful thing to see.
Ananda's spiritual family includes, in addition, tens of thousands of others all over the world who devotedly follow the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda as brought to us and inspired by Swami Kriyananda. In 2003, in his 78th year, Swami Kriyanandaji felt his Guru's guidance to return to India and take up once again the work he'd had to abandon more than 40 years earlier. At present, there are dynamic Ananda centers in Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, and Calcutta. Yogananda came to show the underlying unity between the teachings of Jesus and those of Krishna. And so Ananda is equally at home in the West and the East. And yet the devotees in India are showing a particular receptivity to these teachings. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the future for Ananda Sangha seems bright on the Indian subcontinent, land of great saints and masters, and the birthplace of the great guru of Ananda Sangha, Sri Paramahansa Yogananda. Watching Swamiji grow over the years, I first met him when he was in his early 40s, and then till he passed away in his late 80s. And it was such a beautiful thing because every step of the way there was a radiant disciple, a radiant soul. In his early years, dynamic energy and willpower, able to change the world, to give a lecture as brilliant and as expansive as you could ever want to hear. And then his middle years, when he was more writing and putting his thoughts into those great books that he wrote, The New Path and the commentaries on the Gita, and establishing works in Europe and in India. But it was more transforming from him being a teacher to just manifesting things globally. And then at the end of his life, it was like all that was left was the soul. Lecturing was not easy for him. Writing was not easy for him. Traveling was not easy for him. Singing, any of the things, eating, walking. But what was left was the pure essence of who he was. And through all the outward forms, that was the thread that really, I think, inspired me from the very beginning till the very end. And that was the thread of the soul longing for God with every ounce of its being. And finally, one could feel at a certain point the longing and the yearning had been reciprocated, and there was no more striving. There was only resting in the beauty, the peace, the bliss of God. And as he said once, I no longer know where Swami Kriyananda ends and Yogananda starts. It was just one, that bliss of spirit. And to watch that transformation was one of the greatest gifts of my life.
I'll actually like to close with a reading. Again, this is a story of Swamiji. I know we are out of time, but the story is very beautiful and very touching. And this is Swamiji's, the chapter of this the name of this chapter is The Importance of Harmony. Whenever he visited Lugano, Switzerland, Swamiji would have a treatment he called a pedicure, that it had nothing in common with getting your nails painted. It was an hour spent removing calluses and soothing the cracked skin that often afflicted him. When a group of us were vacationing with him in Sicily, a friend and I both had conventional pedicures at a beauty shop there. My friend knew that Swamiji enjoyed his pedicure in Lugano and wanted him to have one here too. When she presented the idea to Swamiji, I tried to explain to her that this was nothing like what he was used to, but she insisted on making an appointment anyway. The shopping was some distance from the hotel and up two long flights of steep stairs. It was a strain for Swamiji to make the trek. When he arrived, it was immediately obvious that the treatment wasn't anything he wanted, and he left without taking it. On our way back to the hotel, for a few minutes, I was walking alone with Swamiji. He asked me rather insistently, "You knew I wouldn't want that pedicure. Why did you let her make that appointment?" I tried to tell her, but she wouldn't listen. If I had insisted, it would have created disharmony and made her wrong in front of you. I didn't want to do that. Swamiji relaxed completely. "Of course," he said, "you did the right thing." This is Swamiji for all of us. Let's visualize them at the point between the eyebrows. Let's surround them with Master's light, with Swamiji's grace, with Divine Mother's love. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in these thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in their bodies, in their minds, and in their souls. Let us rub our hands together and let's sing 3 ohms. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.